March, a year earlier than his mandatory retirement age. Today was supposed to be the day that tollways go 100% cashless, but the surge of vehicles lining up for RFID installation has forced operators to still accept cash. And as America braces for a spike in COVID-19 cases post-Thanksgiving, U.S. health authorities are setting their sights on making vaccines available by Christmas. Let's start with the Makabayan bloc dismissing the president's tirades against left-wing party list groups as mere diversionary tactics. But Malacan continues to dare the lawmakers to just admit to being communists. Ria Fernandez has the big story.
A grand conspiracy. This was how President Duterte described last night the alleged involvement of several party list groups as legal fronts to the communist insurgency.
Itong mga legal fronts ng komunista, lahat yan, Makabayan, Bayan, they are all legal fronts. Gabriela, hindi yan sila, we are not red tagging you. We are identifying you as members in a grand conspiracy.
The statement came after the military was called out for a photo supposedly depicting as war trophy the remains of 22-year-old Jeveline, daughter of Bayan Muna Party List Representative Eufemia Culyamat. The younger Culyamat died in an encounter in Surigao del Sur.
Okay, tama yung kay Culyamat. Culyamat. Oh. Di anak niya mismo, babae pa. Sigurado patayan. Babae laban mo sa sundalo, patay sigurado.
For Makabayan lawmakers, the latest tirades of the president against them prove one thing.
Si President Duterte ang hari ng Red Tagger. At siya yung talagang siya yung nagpapalakas ng loob dito sa mga militar, mga PNP at iba pang mga sektor ng National Security Forces para doon sa ginagawa nila ngayon na patuloy na red tagging sa Makabayan bloc, sa bayan, sa mga progressive organizations.
But they said they will not cower as they consider the president's attacks to be mere diversionary tactics.
Sa tingin namin ay pagtatakip lamang sa incompetence at sa malubhang problema pa rin sa ating bayan ngayon at pilit kaming pinipilayan to silence us especially in our active role bilang mga mambabatas.
Instead of keeping busy with red tagging, the progressive Solons called on the government to open its eyes to the root cause of the armed struggle. They also have an appeal to the Senate as they continue the probe on red tagging.
Ang iniimbestigahan ay yung state institutions. Pero binabaliktad nila. Parang nung panahon nung 1950s, yung McCarthy red tagging witch hunt, ang iniimbestigahan yung nire-red tag, hindi yung nangre-red tag. Obviously, hindi yan ang tamang sistema na dapat ginagawa ngayon sa Senate. At dapat, ang dapat imbestigahan ay yung NTF-ELCAC, yung AFP, yan si Lorenzana, Esperon, and other individuals and members of the government.
But Malacan insists that the Makabayan bloc has been lying all this time.
Let's be honest. Tigil na yan na nagsisinungaling pa sila na red tagging. Red naman talaga sila, sabi ni Presidente. At katotoo naman po yan Ang hinihingi lang natin, you can be a red without necessarily endorsing the use of arms.
Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the NPA's use of arms against the government constitutes rebellion, but supporting the Communist Party of the Philippines may be legal. Roque dared lawmakers from the Makabayan bloc to just come clean and admit to being communists.
Buwagin nyo na yung mga party list nyo, tawagin nyo ng CPP. Pero wag na kayong susuporta sa NPA. Dahil yung pagsuporta sa NPA makes it illegal.
The government has decriminalized membership to the CPP through Republic Act 7636, which was signed by then-President Fidel V. Ramos. But Bayan Muna Representative Ferdinand Gaite, through a Viber message, hit presidential spokesperson Roque for the inconsistencies in his statements. Gaite insisted that not everything the president says is true. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
The Senate continued its hearing on the alleged red tagging of progressive groups. Senators also took time to express condolences to the family of Jevelyn Colyamat, who died in a recent clash with the military. Mayan Los Baños tells us how the hearing went.
Bayan Muna Representative Euphemia Colyamat faced the Senate hearing today as a grieving mother. She explained that it was her own daughter's decision to join the armed struggle to fight for the causes of Lumads.
Naging rebelde siya. Salamat sa inyong mga naka-uniforme. Kayong mga hindi hintay na matapos man lamang ang aming pagluluksa. At gigil na ninyong gamitin ang kanyang pagkamatay para bigyang katuwiran ng inyong paninira at paninikil sa aming organisasyon.
The armed forces maintained that they did not use Jevelyn's body as a war trophy.
It's not true that the armed forces of the Philippines, the AP and the SF battalion desecrated the body. In fact, they afforded her all the respect and all the assistance that they have to do to make sure that she will have a decent burial.
Before the hearing this morning, they asked for a moment of silence to pray for the soul of Colyamat, after which National Intelligence Coordinating Agency Director Alex Monteagudo went straight to accusing Makabayan bloc of being part of the group encouraging the youth to be members of the NPA.
Nasawi sa pakikipaglaban sa pamahalaan. Mga kabataan na nabiktima at ninakawan ng magandang kinabukasan ng CPP, NPA, NDF. Sino ang nag-uudyok sa kanila? Walang iba kundi ang mga front organizations ng CPP, NPA, NDF, kagaya ng Bayan, Anak Bayan at iba pa.
Former Bayan Muna Representative Teddy Casino cried foul over the allegation that they are among the groups recruiting children to be part of the New People's Army.
Sino bang NPA na-recruit ko? Sino bang NPA na-recruit ni Mary? Ni Congressman Tino?
The Makabayan bloc, for its part, insisted that red tagging is very dangerous as it has already led to the killing of many of their members.
Ang aming belief, ang armed struggle is a legitimate option of the Filipino people. Recognize mismo yan ng Philippine government, Mr. Chair, in the Karil. So, yan ang opinion namin. It doesn't mean na kung may ganun kaming political beliefs, CPP front na kami, CPP members na kami.
Instead of red tagging, the Makabayan bloc pushed for the continuation of the peace talks. Senator Lacson, meanwhile, wants to study the possibility of criminalizing red tagging.
I'm thinking of asking DOJ if there's basis enough to legislate to, as suggested by Dean Lavinia, to criminalize red tagging. But I want to find out first from DOJ kung meron bang magiging basihan kung gawin natin yun. Kasi baka bumangga sa freedom of expression.
Senate President Tito Soto suggested to just file a libel case against those who red tag. In the hearing, the security cluster presented numerous witnesses who claimed to be former rebels. The Makabayan bloc also presented their witnesses who claimed to have been harassed because of red tagging. Reporting for News 5, Mayan Los Baños, We Are One News.
Metro Manila remains under general community quarantine until the end of the year, along with 7 other areas. President Duterte announced the updated quarantine protocols last night, placing the capital region, the provinces of Batangas, Lanao del Sur, and Davao del Norte, as well as the cities of Iloilo, Tacloban, Iligan, and Davao under GCQ until December 31. The rest of the country falls under a more lenient, modified GCQ. All of this comes as the country posts new COVID-19 cases by the thousands, with more than 25,000 active cases. Health Secretary Francisco Duque noted a general downtrend in cases over the past weeks. This despite a recent uptick in new cases being attributed to possible transmission in evacuation centers following back-to-back typhoons. The Octa research team of UP and UST experts, however, says a so-called unflattening of the curve here in the country could be in the offing. In an interview with the chiefs last night, Professor Guido David said the Philippines reproduction number, or R0, is now at 0.93 from 0.83 last week. Recall that a higher R0 signals increased transmission of the virus among individuals, especially as it nears the level of 1.
It's worrisome because there is a margin of error for the reproduction number, and 0.9 is cutting it too close. And right now, we might be in the same situation as last May.
The Health Department is reporting a spike in leptospirosis cases in Metro Manila in the meantime, following the flooding caused by Typhoon Ulysses. Data from the DOH shows that more than 300 people in the region contracted the disease from January to November this year. Health officials say the number is lower than the recorded 1,180 in the same period in 2019. Quezon City and Marikina have the most number of infections, followed by Manila, Caloocan, and Taguig. The Health Department has assured the public that the numbers are manageable.
Nagbigay kami ng 100,000 capsule of doxycycline, plus yung ating mga local government unit, bumili rin ng doxycycline na siyang ating binigay prophylaxis sa mga nabaha para hindi naman po sila mag-develop ng leptospirosis.
We'll go for a quick break. When the big story returns, day 1 of toll roads going cashless did not go as planned. A surge in vehicles lining up forced some booths to still accept cash. And the NDRRMC is warning of possible flooding and landslides again as the State Weather Bureau reports three weather systems affecting the country. Good evening, I'm Robbie Alampay. You're still watching The Big Story. The first day of the mandatory cashless toll payments left thousands of motorists waiting for hours, causing heavy traffic, as you might expect. Gerard De La Peña gives us updates from NLEX Balintawak. Gerard, how bad was the situation earlier?
Robbie, while many motorists are already reloading their new accounts for the new cashless payment system at the expressways, many motorists have yet to have their RFIDs installed. The long queues caused traffic jams, while many applicants were not immediately entertained.
These motorists have killed too much time waiting for their RFID stickers. But after catering to hundreds of applicants, the booth ran out of stickers. The motorists were not pleased with the situation.
Nagmamadali nga po, may isim pa kami, may 2 deliver pa kami. May Bacoor, tapos isim Cavite.
Oo, paano atrasado na?
Opo, hindi ko alam, kaabot pa eh.
Matagal na po, siguro mga 3 oras. 3 oras na po.
The North Luzon Expressway Corporation was forced to open 7 cash lanes in the Bukawi Toll Plaza to cater to angry motorists. But it clarified the cash lanes would only be temporary.
The entire system is ready for cashless transaction, but insofar as the customer take-up, I already mentioned that we still have about 23% based on our daily count, daily traffic count system-wide, who are still on the cash mode. And we obviously need to reach out to them to get them to adapt to an RFID regime as soon as possible. But obviously, in a surge situation, that's not easy to do.
The Toll Regulatory Board attributed the traffic to the influx of returnees to Metro Manila following the long weekend.
Alam niyo naman po na every first working day of the week, yan po ang peak travel Manila bound. No? So medyo talaga pong marami during the first day of work. Number 3 po, siguro kung maalala nyo, it has been a long weekend. Marami din po sa ating mga motorista medyo nagsiuwi muna at ngayon pa lang nagbabalikan sa Manila.
The TRB also reminded motorists they were alerted about the new system months ago. It stressed that the transition period is from December to January and that it is expected to not go smoothly that fast. In any case, the regulator vowed to make the necessary adjustments. The TRB also reiterated the December 1 deadline was just for the rollout of cashless tollway transactions. There is no deadline for the RFID installation as apprehensions will begin on January 12. For its part, San Miguel Corporation has appealed to the Transportation Department to move the deadline to February.
Robbie, the NLEX Corporation opened a cash lane here at the Balintawak Toll Plaza, the rightmost lane here, after which motorists were directed to another tent to have their RFID stickers installed. Those who don't have their stickers yet may book their appointments online, but if it's still impossible, the NLEX management advises everyone to check out the installation centers where walk-ins are allowed. Robbie.
Maraming salamat, Gerard de la Peña. The NDRRMC is urging concerned LGUs and residents to brace for possible flooding and landslides. The warning comes as Pag-asa forecasts 3 weather systems set to affect the country. Pag-asa says the tail end of a frontal system, the hanging amihan or northeast monsoon, and the low-pressure area are currently affecting most of Luzon. Rains are expected over Albay, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Sorsogon, and Masbate, as well as northern Samar, Marinduque, Oriental Mindoro, and Romblon. The Weather Bureau says the LPA near eastern Samar is forecast to move closer towards the area of eastern Visayas and the Bicol region. The Weather Bureau also notes that it is less likely to intensify into a tropical depression over the next 24 hours. This World AIDS Day, government is assuring Filipinos living with HIV that access to services and maintenance drugs is available despite the pandemic. But a group handling support for affected individuals is suggesting decentralizing services in order to reach more people. Greg Gregorio has this story.
Darwin has been living with HIV for 7 years now. He admits fearing for his life at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic back in March. Medical experts have noted that immunocompromised individuals like him are at the high risk of acquiring COVID-19. But being a frontliner himself, who caters to the needs of his fellow persons living with HIV or PLHIV, he continued his work at the Antipolo Social Hygiene and Satellite Treatment Hub as a client-centered case manager.
As an HIV advocate kasi, minsan uunahin mo rin syempre na yung responsibility mo as a healthcare provider dun sa mga taong mas mahina sa'yo.
Filipino group TLF Share conducted a study commissioned by the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS. It showed that some Filipinos living with HIV share Darwin's fear of exposure to the virus. Some are also concerned with mobility issues blocking their access to treatment services.
We have anecdotal reports of PLHIV not able to access their ARVs, because they are not in their treatment house because they are in another area, they're in another province.
Part of the group's recommendation is to decentralize HIV services so that PLHIVs may access services regardless of location. DOH data show 21 individuals test positive for human immunodeficiency virus or HIV every day. Over 80,000 cases, meanwhile, have been recorded in the past 3 decades. In line with World AIDS Day, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III reiterated the government's call to reduce and prevent HIV transmission.
HIV/AIDS should not mean social death, nor should it be used as an excuse to exclude the most disadvantaged.
The government also assured that HIV and AIDS-related services will be available amid the pandemic. This includes provision for free antiretroviral drugs to thousands of PLHIVs to manage infection. House Committee on Health Vice Chair Mike Defensor says there is enough supply of ARV for the affected population in the country. However, he noted challenges in HIV testing, which led to a 42% drop in new HIV cases as of September, compared to figures from 2019.
Because of COVID-19, maraming hindi lumalabas, hindi nagpapatest. Tingin ko definitely may effect yung lockdown. May effect yung hindi pagpunta ng mga tao sa ospital.
Authorities urge the public not to hesitate to contact their local health centers or to coordinate with the nearest HIV treatment hubs to have themselves tested. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Let's pause for a quick break. When we return, Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta is set to retire March 2021, a year ahead of his mandatory retirement age. And vaccines could just come in handy by Christmas time in the United States as cases are expected to spike after 1 million Americans traveled for Thanksgiving. The details next. Good evening, I'm Robbie Alampay. You're still watching The Big Story. Metro Manila mayors admit being confused over the new policy allowing minors in malls. Some of them say enforcing the ordinance could be difficult. Camille Samonte tells us why.
The government has allowed minors to shop in malls as long as they are accompanied by their parents. The Interior Department says this is part of the gradual expansion of age groups allowed outside during lockdown. Some LGUs in GCQ areas admit that enforcing the ordinance could be difficult.
Sa mahigit 1 milyon na mga tao na dating nasa bahay lamang, ang papayagan na natin ngayon lumabas. No? At pag sinabi mong mall, hindi naman yan masisiguradong mall lang.
The NCRPO also rejects the policy, especially with health experts, warning against a possible post-holiday surge.
Wala pa nga po tayong vaccine na ini-implement. So siguro mas maganda po siguro na iwas munang lumabas, lalong-lalo na yung mga very vulnerable, mga bata.
San Juan Mayor Francis Zamora says the Metro Manila Council will meet tonight to come up with uniform guidelines.
Kahit ako medyo naguguluhan din sa totoo lang sapagkat iba-iba nga ang interpretasyon at iba-iba ang implementation.
Parents have second thoughts about bringing their kids to malls this Christmas season.
Kasi yung mga bata, pag pinamili mo ng gamit at saka di sila kasama at saka di nila gusto, sayang na yung pinamili mong pera.
Pero sa ngayon, dahil pandemic nga, sinasabi ko, kaya kailangan iwas-iwas muna.
Siyempre, mas masarap pumasyal sa mga iba-ibang mall para malaman natin, makita natin ang mga iba-ibang mga tanawin. Kaya lang ma'am, siyempre, meron tayong order na mag-ingat.
Malacan has assured the public that strict health protocols will be enforced to prevent the spread of COVID-19 among minors.
It's really to invite families to visit the malls again dahil ngayon po talaga, miski tayo nagluwag na, maluluwag po talaga mga malls. Talagang hindi po lumalabas pa rin ang ating mga kababayan.
For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta is set to step down from the High Court by the first quarter of 2021. That's a year ahead of his mandatory retirement. This has been confirmed by Supreme Court spokesperson Brian Hosaka. No reason was provided for Peralta's early retirement, but Hosaka says in a statement that Chief Justice will make a formal announcement in due time. Peralta's early retirement by March 27 next year means President Duterte will have the chance to appoint a fourth Chief Justice under his term. The President has yet to name a replacement for Associate Justice Priscilla Baltasar Padilla, who stepped down last month. He's also expected to name 2 more justices, as Associate Justices Rosemary Carandang and Edgardo de los Santos will be retiring in 2022. By the end of President Duterte's term, only 2 justices, Associate Justices Marvic Leonen and Benjamin Caguiwa, will be non-Duterte appointees. The NBI says there has so far been no indication of foul play as the search for missing lawyer Ryan Oliva continues. Oliva's brother earlier turned over the lawyer's laptop to the NBI Special Action Unit for forensic examination. Oliva, who teaches law at the University of the Philippines and is the Tourism Department's Legislative Liaison Unit head, has been missing since November 21. The NBI says investigation is ongoing. They are retracing the whereabouts of Oliva, who rode a cab to Nasugbu, Batangas. The lawyer's belongings found in Occidental Mindoro have yet to be turned over to the NBI. A reward of 100,000 pesos is now being offered to anyone who can provide details about the lawyer's whereabouts. If you have any information, you may contact the details being flashed on your screen right now. In sports, Gilas Pilipinas remains undefeated in the second window of the FIBA 2021 Asia Cup qualifiers in Bahrain. The Philippines once again outplayed Thailand 93-69. The Gomez Diliano brothers led the national team with 33 points, with older brother Javi landing 7 of 8 baskets. Thailand's big man Chanatip Jakrawan was still a force to be reckoned with, scoring 34 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 steals. Gilas is now leading Group A with a 3-0 record ahead of no-show South Korea 2-0. Thailand remains winless while Indonesia has a 1-2 standing. U.S. health officials are looking to start COVID-19 vaccinations before Christmas as the country braces for a post-Thanksgiving holiday surge in cases. U.S. Health Secretary Alex Azar said Pfizer's experimental vaccine could be authorized and shipped within days of the Food and Drug Administration's December 10 meeting. Emergency use permits for Moderna could also follow a week later. As infections continue to climb in the United States, government officials have pleaded with Americans to avoid travel and limit social gatherings during the winter holiday, but all of that to no avail. Air travel in the U.S. reached its highest since March, with more than 1 million airline passengers screened over the long Thanksgiving weekend. Volume, though, is still 60% lower than Thanksgiving last year. Health experts expect an uptick in cases following the spike in holiday travel. And that wraps up today's big story. December 1st, 2020, just 20 days before Christmas. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. Now, for more in-depth analysis, you can visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Robbie Alampay, and we are One News. Good evening.